All right, thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to run through the 35 practice questions for Agile project management. This will be like a knowledge check so that we can pause and then have we can also interact along with the questions and using the answers to also learn. So the first question we say in Agile project management, how are projects typically planned? So A says planned upfront in detail before execution. B says planned iteratively throughout the project. C says no planning is done at all. And D says planned at the start and adjusted only at the end. Now, because this is agile, we know we do things iteratively and incrementally. So B will be the answer. Number 2 says which of the following is true for waterfall project management? A says it follows an iterative, flexible approach. B says phases of the project are sequential and linear. C says project requirements evolve throughout the project. D says it relies on frequent feedback from stakeholders. So looking at this, waterfall projects are always, we even call it linear project management or the traditional project management. So then B speaks to the answer, it's sequential. Number 3, we said in Agile, who is responsible for removing impediment for development team? A, product owner. B, project manager. C, scrum master. D, team lead. So we know it's not a product owner, and then project manager is not in Agile. So team lead, except we mean team lead as maybe the development team lead, yeah. But C, which is the scrum master, is the answer. Number 4, how does waterfall project manager handle changes to requirements? A, changes are welcome at any time. B, changes are made iteratively and adjusted during sprint. C, changes are typically restricted after the project plan is finalized. And D, stakeholders request change at the end of the project. So because this is waterfall, changes cannot be welcome at any time. Changes cannot be iterative. So for waterfall, C looks like the answer. Changes are typically restricted after the project plan is finalized. So D says stakeholders request changes at the end of the project. Well, you can request a change at the end of the project, but that means you're creating a new project then to fix whatever gap that has been identified. But that's not the typical thing in terms of handling changes to requirement in a project. Okay, number 5, that's where we are at now. Mr. Charles, are you back? Okay. He's not. Okay, we can go ahead then. So, Dr. Shola, we say, what is the primary focus of a Scrum Master in Agile project management? We said A, managing stakeholders, communication, and tracking project cost. B, we say facilitating the development team and ensuring adherence to Agile practices. C, approving project changes and managing the budget. Then D, creating the detailed project plan and managing timelines. So which option did you pick?
Well, I will pick option D.
Okay. Option D, creating the detailed project plan and managing timeline. Okay.
Dr. Josh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, where are we?
Question 5.
Okay,
So,
what's the primary focus of unfortunately I have to use my phone. Okay, let me see if okay. It's better now. Okay. What's the primary focus of a Scrum Master
in Agile project management?
Managing stakeholders, facilitating development of the team, and ensuring adherence to Agile practices, approving project changes and managing the budget, creating the detailed project plan and managing timeline. All of them seem to be the answer, but I'll go for B, facilitating development of team and ensuring adherence to Agile practice.
Why did you choose B?
B seems like, if you look at the other A to A, C, D, they are more or less like some of the
waterfall.
No, not waterfall. Some of his responsibilities, in specific area, managing costs, managing budgets, managing timeline. That seems like part of, his responsibility. But if you look at B, facilitating the development of team and ensuring adherence, that seems like a holistic um, a holistic responsibility that encompasses even the other ones. So that's what I think B seems like the answer. The others are also part of his responsibilities.
Yeah. So the first one, managing stakeholder communication, is part of the role of a Scrum Master. But
yes,
project cost is not a primary focus of a Scrum Master.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
So it's not a primary focus. Now, but B has everything as primary focus: development team and ensuring adherence to agile practices. Now, since moving project changes, remember I just explained to you, in traditional, there is the change advisory board. In agile too, some organizations decide to transmit that CAB meeting to agile practices too. And some would say you come for RFC meeting, request for change meeting, RFC. So some call it CAB, which is change advisory board. Some call it RFC, request for change meeting. So but it's not a primary role of the Scrum Master to go and do that. In most developed agile team, is the role of the tech lead. That's the development team lead to go and actually make that request. So it's not primarily the role of a Scrum Master, and then managing budget is not primarily the role. Then creating detailed project plan. Why this one is wrong is that don't forget that we have 4 core agile values. The 4th one says we respond to change over following a plan. So we in agile, we don't create detailed project plan. Do you remember? We only just create a plan for us to kickstart because a lot of people. But yes, he can manage timelines for the project, but because it's the one managing the Scrum timelines and everything. So that's it. Number 6. In waterfall, how is project progress typically measured? By tracking the amount of work completed at each iteration, by comparing actual progress with the project plan, through daily stand-ups and sprint reviews, by reviewing completed user stories at the end of each sprint.
B.
Okay. Okay, we have FK joining also. Mr. Charles is back. FK, so what we're doing, questions as a knowledge check. So we have 35 questions and we're currently at question 6. So we would employ you to also participate in the answers. Are you able to talk? If you're not, you can send me a personal chat or drop a chat in the chat room for Zoom, in the Zoom chat room. So if you're able to talk, you can also participate. We're currently reading question 6. So Mr. Charles, what's your answer for question 6?
Sorry, I was thrown out again, so I just came back in. In waterfall, how is project progress typically measured? By tracking the amount of work completed in each iteration, by comparing actual progress with the project plan, through daily stand-ups and sprint reviews, by reviewing completed user stories, by comparing actual progress with project plans. B.
Excellent. So that's the way it is done in traditional project management. We just check the actual progress in project plan and then we calculate percentages. And if we are not meeting up to, then we start working around the cost, the scope, and everything. Okay, number 7. Which of the following is a key difference between a Scrum Master and a traditional project manager? So we have to be careful because sometimes in an interview or in a question or in a gist, someone can just tell you what's the role of a TPM.
Okay.
So ask the person again, are you referring to TPM as a traditional project manager or a technical product manager?
Okay.
Yeah, because the person might mean I've been in an interview before, the person kept using TPM. I was trying to listen well. At the time, I just someone called and asked the person, please, are you talking about traditional project management? Thank God I asked, because the person actually meant technical product manager. So you can imagine I would have said nonsense, and the person might feel like I really don't know. So it's always good once you are not clear about an acronym or all these things that are used, just ask. Okay, so A Scrum Master focus on team facilitation. A traditional project manager controls scope and budget. B, both are responsible for managing stakeholders communication. Scrum Master develops the project plan, while a project manager manages sprints. D, a Scrum Master manages team members, while project manager removes impediment. So which one is the answer from your view?
So
definitely not C and D.
Okay, thank you. You already saw that juxtaposition of the points.
They have reversed their roles in C and D. So ruled out.
Okay. And
then we are left with A and B.
B is both their responsibility. They both manage stakeholders' communications, even though it might be in different ways.
Excellent.
So the answer should be A.
Correct. So we already nailed it. So Scrum Master focuses on team facilitation, while project manager controls scope, budget, cost, and all those things. One incident happened in one of my projects this week. So let me give you the background so that you can understand. What happened is we started the project in March, and what we did was we're supposed to help one of our team to be able to transfer files from their own. Okay, so a health insurance organization. I'm using the term you will understand in Nigeria, but we call them MCO here, Managed Care Organization. But while in Nigeria, we used to call them HMO.
Yes.
So HMOs are supposed to send some files to us, and we too were supposed to extract some file and send out. So what now happened is that we've been sending now, but unfortunately, the dates the HMO that are sending to us, they are sending the date that will end in October. Whereas we need those dates to be extended further, but it was originally not part of the project. But out of good faith, we decided to take it on as an additional, that's a scope creep. We call it scope creep. Once you are taking more than what this original scope defines, it is called scope creep. But in Agile, you always want to help business. You always want to go above and beyond. Welcome changes even up to late in development. Those are our values, right? So because of those values, that values puts us in more trouble. So we decided to take on the additional bit of the project. Apparently, when they wanted to do the extension, we initially did the first part of the extension, but the second part of the extension was a bigger project that requires more work. So unfortunately, what happened? We're not able to do that within the time business thought they needed it. So they escalated. And you know what that means? Once they escalate you, your boss's boss will summon you to a meeting. And before you know it, everybody will be asking, what did you do? What has been done? So there will be chaos and this thing. So the idea is that a project manager, as a scrum master, you also must have the thinking of a project manager. That's where I'm going. Don't, because a scrum master, lose that guardedness of a project manager. So ultimately, at the end of the day, when we resolve everything, they saw that it was still not my fault as the scrum master. But unfortunately, the question they were asking is, but you should know as a project manager that that's a scope creep, and that you should have forced the business to go and create a new project for that. So you can see that even though you're a scrum master, sometimes they still expect you to think like a project manager. Because for my own team, if business goes and creates a new change request, that means there will be more money for IT. And since truly it's a new request, then it should actually fetch us more money. But these things are things we can do in good faith, also to satisfy business. Ultimately, we eventually had to do it in good faith. We finished it yesterday, was validated yesterday, and everybody's happy and fine. Do you get it? But somehow, if you're a scrum master, sometimes they will still place some burden on you as a project manager. just to understand the fair balance between the two. So this is the way I see it. I see you as a traditional project manager, like someone writing WAEC. I see a Scrum Master like someone doing A-levels. I hope that picture is clearer. So the fact that you're a Scrum Master doing the advanced project management does not mean you should lose the values of traditional project management. So even though your project is still looking like, okay, this is a scope creep or something, you should still respond like a project manager.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I hope that's clear,
Okay.
right?
Yes, very clear. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Number 8. What is a defining feature of Agile project management compared to waterfall? A, rigid phase-based structure. B, continuous collaboration with stakeholders. C, focus on complete requirement before the project starts. D, one-time delivery of the finished product.
B.
Okay. So Agile project management does continuous collaboration with stakeholders, even up till the end of the project. And that's why we're able to work at any time. We are given to continuous improvement, technical excellence, and all those. All the other 3 features are classic for waterfall.
Yeah.
Okay, number 9. In Agile, how often are project deliverables typically reviewed? A, at the end of the project. B, at the beginning of each phase. C, continuously during sprint and iterations. D, after testing is completed.
C, continuously during sprint and iterations.
Okay. Who wants to say something else? Any other opinion? Or is Mr. Charles still there? Oh, this thing is kicking him out seriously. Wow. Okay. All right. So the answer is continuously during sprint and I hope he has been. It's okay. It's joining back now.
So he's joining back now.
Yeah, I just want him to also at least.
Yeah, it was part of question 8. So if we can give him a few seconds, he can come and answer 9 too.
Mr. Charles, are you back?
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you for putting up with my.
No worries. Right.
So where are we? We're on 9, right?
Question 9. So what's your answer? Question 9.
In Agile, how often are project deliverables typically reviewed? At the end of the project, no. At the beginning of each phase, no. Continually during sprints and its iteration, yes. C. The answer is C. Continuously during sprints and iteration.
Okay, so great. But I just need you to be careful with this question.
Oh my God. I'm out again.
You're not out. You're still in. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so C is the correct option, but we have to be careful. There's one methodology in Agile called test-driven development.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a methodology in Agile called test-driven development. In that methodology, the answer would have been after testing is completed. Because that development follows what we call unit testing, integration testing, functional testing, performance testing. Everything that they are delivering in the project is based on testing. So in such kind of Agile thing,
oh God,
B would have been a better answer. But when we take Agile as a whole, continuously during sprint and iterations are when we review project deliverables. Is that fine?
Yes. My thinking is that even in the test-driven development phase, we will still, it still has to be, that test-driven process still has to be done during iterations and sprints.
Yeah,
so
that's what I said.
That's what you taught us, sir, that once a sprint is completed, you know, it goes into testing and all of that, you know.
You before the retrospective. Thank you. That's great. So that's and that's why I said C is the answer for this. Is only if they go specific to TDD, you may need to review it because it's saying typically reviewed. You know, if you're reading multiple choice questions, I don't know if it's medical school that trained us that way. Every word has a meaning in a question. So we give meaning to every word. So once they can remove that typically and say reviewed, and that already changes the answer. That question. So that's why every word in any question has a meaning. So when they say typically reviewed or typically reviewed, the meaning is, okay, we review at the point of completion of every testing in test-driven development. That's why it's even called test-driven development in the first place. So, but in this, it's just BC. Number 10, in waterfall project management, when are stakeholders typically involved? In waterfall project management, when are stakeholders typically involved?
So my answer would be only during the final testing and approval phase. And
which is B.
Yes, my answer would be, and the reason for that is that there's what we call in development, there's what we call stakeholder, there's what we call what's the name of these things? Stakeholders, adoption, and validation meeting. So that's where everything can you hear me, please?
Perfectly, please. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's what we call in our normal project management in the development, we call stakeholders, adoption, and validation meeting. So it's in that meeting that everything you have done for maybe 1 year or 6 months or thereabouts is subject to validation, review, validation, and adoption by stakeholders. So that's why I said that in waterfall, that will likely be the answer, which is what we usually do in our traditional project management, only during the final testing and approval phase. That's why I'm picking B, sir.
You're correct, actually. It's actually B that aligns. In waterfall, we don't even run iteration, so that already removes A. In waterfall, we don't run sprints, that removes C. And in waterfall, we don't run backlog refinement sessions, so that removes D.
That removes D.
So you're only left with A, B. All right, the next one. This one says, what is the primary responsibility of the Scrum Master?
Define product features, no. Remove obstacles from the team, yes. Approve the project budget, not quite. Manage stakeholders relationship. Primary, I'll take D.
Okay, why do you want to take D?
Because his job is to, if I take define product features, that's not even his responsibilities.
Is that? Whose responsibility is A, if I may ask?
That's
product owner. Product owner.
Correct.
Yes. So it's not his remove obstacles from the team. Yes, that's his responsibility. But not necessarily his primary responsibilities.
So that's where the word primary now counts now.
Exactly, sir.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's responsibility to approve project budgets.
No.
That's project sponsors' responsibility.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right. So the option is now between B and D. So which one is the primary and which one is secondary?
So D seems to be like the primary managing stakeholders relationship, because that's even where B comes in, which is also part of.
Well, the word primary tilts it back to B for me. Is primary
exactly for me too.
Obstacle for the team. That's the major reason why we get a scrum master. The stakeholder relationship, the product owner too can manage stakeholder relationship. Every other development team member is expected to be able to manage stakeholder relationship, but that removing obstacle, serving the team, ensuring that he works with the team to help them achieve great flow.
Oh my God.
It's the primary duty of the scrum master. So B would be the answer. Is it still raining? It looks like his background. There's a rain.
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear you. It looks like there's a rain in your background, right?
Yes, there is. It's raining.
Yeah. Wow, it's so cool. Okay, so B is actually the primary responsibility of the Scrum Master, sir. His primary responsibility is servant leader to the team. And the role as a servant leader is to remove obstacle, to ensure that their work flows effortlessly. That's his primary responsibility as a Scrum Master.
Oh.
The stakeholder relation, one of his responsibilities as a project manager that is managing, overseeing the project, but it's not a primary responsibility of the Scrum Master.
Okay.
So the primary responsibility of the Scrum Master is to be a servant leader for the team, to serve the team, to ensure that he removes problems from their ways and they're able to go on smoothly developing. So be answer here. I get your points. Like he has to manage relationship, but those are secondary roles in the bid of maybe achieving that primary goal.
Okay. Okay. This is clear. This is clear.
All right. Number 2. Which of the following is an agile framework that uses visual cards to manage workflow?
Okay. Now it's getting tougher.
Scrum. Not spoken about Kanban, Lean, and extreme programming. So the answer to B directly, Kanban. Anywhere you see visualization, any form of visual card, visual board, or visual screen or something, it can be virtual or real. In organizations, they will just use a white marker board and they will do 3 lines. What do we have as to do? What do we have as in progress? And what do we have as completed? Do you get the point? Once you have those, anything that talks about a visual board, then it's already speaking to Kanban. And why Kanban is important is that Kanban does not have limitations of sprint that this thing has.
That Scrum has.
That Scrum has. So Kanban gives you a lot of some degree of freedom. And there are 5 classic things that helps you define Kanban. Once they say the Agile framework that is called Kanban, once you hear number 1, visualization. So that means there's a presence of visual board or visual card. That's already tilting your discussion towards Kanban. Number 2, once you hear them using the word work in progress, they say WIP limit, work in progress limit. WIP limit. So work in progress is capital WIP. Work in progress limit. WIP limit. Once you hear WIP limit, that's Kanban. There's no two way about it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that's number 2. Number 3 is that in Kanban, we have something we call just in time, continuous flow. Continuous flow means that your work must flow from what you have as to do to in progress, and you must ensure you complete it before you go and pick another job in to do. Unlike in Scrum, where we can have 10 stories in a certain distance and we'll not even complete it, we'll move it to the next sprint. They will say just 3 out of that 10 that you know you can do. That's the work in progress limit. Finish that 3 and go back and pick another 3.
Okay.
You understand the difference, right?
Yes. So Kanban does not allow you to move, for example, to another backlog until you are done with the one you have before. Let me use that term.
Exactly. Until you finish the one at hand that you have picked, don't go back and create problem for us.
Okay. That process might be a little bit slower.
Yeah, but some people prefer it because they believe it helps them. Because now there's commitment. You now know you. So because of that, because you can't go back, you have to finish that 3 that you picked before you go back. So it helps you to, at least what you pick will be finished. Unlike us, we in Scrum,
yes,
we carry 10 and be moving 3 or 5 of it to the next sprint. Out of that 5, you can move another.
Long.
Wow. We can hear you clearly. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now, sir. I'm back.
Yeah, so great. So I said number 1, visualization, right? Number 2, work in progress.
Yes.
Number 3,
progress.
I said you have the pull approach, because you can go and pull 3 stories, finish the 3 stories, and then go back to the backlog to pick another 3. So number 4, what we believe with this Kanban is that it improves their workflow, because now they know the flow with which they will do things. They know that our capacity can carry this 3 story, and they go after the 3 story, they execute it and finish it, and then they come back. So we're sure the 3 is finished by the time they come back for another 3 more. So we say there's a workflow. And then because there's continuous finishing of a job, we say they also embrace continuous delivery. So there are 5 classic features of Kanban, or maybe top features. Number 1 is the visualization. That's the visual board. The use of the visual board or visual card or visual metrics or something. That's number 1. Number 2 is work in progress limit. Number 3 is the pull approach. They go to the backlog to pull, and they ensure that they finish it in progress before they move to the next pulling. Number 4 is that because they pull like that, there's continuous workflow, improvements in their workflow. And number 5 is continuous delivery. So indirectly, I've explained Kanban to you that way. Those are just the 5 classic things you need to know about Kanban.
Okay.
Okay. So the next one, what is the key responsibility of product owner?
Sorry, before moving to the next one, since all these are still related to Scrum Master, can you explain Lean and Extreme Programming?
Excellent. So for Lean is actually like the father of, or let me say, how do I put it? You know, Lean methodology is older than all these methodologies, right? Lean is the original thing Toyota way was using, and the Motorola way before the Agile idea came in. So Lean is talking to you about waste management. Lean is saying, okay, you need to shrink your process, do what we call a value stream mapping, focus on what is the real value to the customer. That's one. Focus on, create a value stream mapping like a visual board. Sorry, did I use visual board? No. I'm supposed to say a value stream mapping is like you draw a map of how things move from, let's say in an healthcare system now, how a patient will move from the gate of the hospital to the card room, right, to get their card, right? From the card room, they will go to MOPD. From MOPD, maybe they will go to the lab. They bring back the result from lab. They see the doctor again. They go to the pharmacy, and then they go home they make payments in between. Sorry, they make payment to the lab. They go to the lab. They make payment to pharmacy. They go. So that map that shows that flow, that pattern of how a patient moves around an hospital is what we call value stream mapping. We map the flow. So if it's a car you're building from where you put the chassis of the car on the gantry and how it works, moves around until everything is completely and QC passed. So that's in this thing. So that's the lean process. So number one is value. Number two is value stream mapping. Number three in lean, which is also similar to Kanban, is the pull approach. You remember that if you're pulling, that means once you put a car, is until all those cars are on a chain until the car that is in my front is finished. I can't move over to the next car. So that means I'm pulling the process. The process is coming towards me and I'm pulling it and I'm finishing it and passing it on to the next person. So that's pull. Anywhere you have pull, you will always have continuous flow because you are ensuring that you finish an execution before you move to the next one. Then the next thing for lean is they call something Kaizen spirit. That's the spirit of continuous improvement. This is the idea. They believe that if my role in the car manufacturing process is to just fix the tires, they will need me to be fixing tires for life. Such that in that my role, I will become a super professor of tire fixing. And the next person to me, maybe his own role is to fix the steering. So once I am done with fixing tire, I move it to the next person fixing steering. The reason why they believe that will happen is over time, they expect me to improve my process. That if when we started, I fix tire every 10 minutes, they expect me to improve the process to the point that maybe after 10 years, I should start fixing tire in 1 minute. Because I should have been so good, I should have known all the loopholes, the gaps, and everything, and gotten all the equipment that will make my tire fixing faster. Do you watch these people that do car race? Do you see how they refuel their car and they fix their tire?
Yes.
Within 10 seconds, there's a guy that will hold the fuel and just plug, and fuel will press the full tank into the car within 10 seconds. And the guy is fixing the tire. They just fix the tire. One is carrying tire, one is carrying the bolt that will remove it. He removes the whole tire, I put the new tire, and the other guy just pins it down. So that's how they think. They believe in each part of the chain, everybody becomes so good and you continuously improve that you can increase the efficiency of that section and it makes it faster. So if we don't blue chain, from security knows how to pass in people in an orderly manner to make it faster. The receptionist know how to get the card in an orderly way to make it faster. So each person, although I know hospital has all those things, but the problem is there is no continuous improvement spirit in each of those sections. And two is that we don't sync them together to see it as a complete chain. Instead, we see it in a fragmented way. That's the advantage of lean. And so remember when we're talking about Scrum, we said that the whole idea of Scrum was born from lean thinking. Don't forget lean thinking in that material that we're reviewing. So lean and empiricism, that's experience. Lean thinking is the process that reduces waste. So it focuses on value stream, mapping, the pull approach, continuous improvement. And then extreme programming. Now, this extreme programming, it's like a super advanced way of writing code. The difference, the gist with extreme programming, one thing that classically separates it is that in extreme programming, if I'm a junior programmer, they will merge me with a senior programmer. Such that just like the way medicine runs, where a consultant is matched with a junior resident, or a junior resident is matched with a consultant. So the consultant is expected to train that, but of course in medicine there are many residents, but in this scenario it's like one-to-one. So we have what we call one-to-one peer programming, such that it improves the life of that junior programmer to become very fast, extremely, within a short period of time. And that's why it's called extreme programming. So they match them together to work together, and then it improves the rate of delivery of that young programmer. So that within few sprints, the young programmer starts coding at the same rate as that experienced programmer. So that helps increase the speed, and that's what backs the extreme programming methodology. So that's the explanation of BCD. Of course,
in this extreme programming,
okay,
will it be correct? Let's say they add that the experienced person provide template for the less experienced person to make the output faster. Will that be correct?
Template is what you understand. What will be the role of the template? I'm trying to understand how template will work, right? Like what you're saying is that provides maybe like a prototype of the code he has written before as a template to give to the guy.
Just anything to. I just use template as an example. Will it involve just anything to ensure that the process is faster and more efficient? Or it's just for mentoring?
So it's focused primarily on high quality software development mentoring.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and the advantage is that it would help improve it will help shorten the development. So one of the things that gives us in programming is that we always have junior programmers. You can't hire 2-3 professional programmers on a project, otherwise you. So in most cases, what we have is we have one dev lead who is very good, and you give him like 3-4 what do you call it, J2.
I do a network. I would decide to just be wicked.
Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, Mr. Charles? Oh, he's gone.
Yes, it's gone again. I think he usually senses the disconnection before they eventually get disconnected. That is why we can always hear his comments.
Yeah.
So you more or less sense the disconnection before the eventual disconnection.
Yeah. So in most cases, while I was still talking about the peer programming thing, so in most cases, they get the two of them together to also sit down. One advantage they believe in peer programming is even though the junior colleague too is learning, they believe that if 4 eyes are developing, are writing the code, the error rates are reduced. And then it helps quicker, more effective, because as one is writing the code, one can be testing at unit level to be sure that the code is correct and is giving the quality that is expected. Instead of having one person.
Will they be writing the same code?
Okay, so we can, once you understand what needs to be developed, they can be writing. So he will now check what the senior programmer is learning and then correct his own line of code. Don't forget that anytime they are doing a code, they would have branched from the main branch. They will just give them a branch from the main branch on the platform. Whatever they are writing in dev environment, it won't affect anything in production. So if both of them are writing the same code, it won't affect anything. At the end of the day, they both this guy becomes good, the younger guy becomes good, the other guy ensures that, okay, if the junior guy is writing, the senior guy is testing. If the senior guy is writing, the junior guy is testing. And they're ensuring that
Okay, now, this is my question. Since different features will be written differently, so I'm saying part-time, both of them are writing the same thing.
Yeah, part-time, they have to focus on what, and the focus is one of the key words. They have to focus on a single developer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, it's okay.
All right. Okay, I think we have him back now. Welcome back. So let's go to number 3. What is the key responsibility of a product owner? Emphasis on key.
Okay.
So I'll take A, write user stories and prioritize backlogs.
Yes.
Okay, who does B?
Daily stand up.
Scrum Master.
That's
Master, great. Who does C?
That's still a Scrum Master.
Owner.
No, assign tasks to developers.
Product owner.
That's a product owner. Yes.
Okay, yeah. That's not correct. Another trial?
Okay, then if it's not product owner, then it will be Scrum Master.
No.
It should be a Scrum Master.
Development team have their own leader.
Who assigns tasks to developers?
Development team lead.
Okay.
Okay, that is the TPM.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
Okay.
Yes, that can also be the technical project manager.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. So every development team has a leader.
Okay.
Remember, I said there will be one very experienced guy who will be the dev team lead. So once we have with the product owner, we have prioritized that this is the 10 stories that we're developing this sprint. Then the dev team lead will now say, okay, assign story A to, I want to use people's name. I'll just pick some names out of random. Assign name to Mrs. K. Assign, we don't use Mrs. Okay. Assign A to Ramya. Assign B to this. Assign this to this. So that's the difference. So it's the development team lead that actually assigns the task to developers, because he knows the competencies of each of them. He knows the plan.
So the question is, who, Dr. Josh, who assigns the task to the development team lead?
People assign tasks to developers.
Okay.
Tasks to the development team now will now be another thing. Those in Agile, we all have to agree together. So both the Scrum Master, the product owner, and the development team, everybody would agree during the sprint planning that these are the stories that should move to the sprint. So you can't really say product owner assigns task to development team. We all agreed together. Remember, there's no lead, there's nobody like command and control. We all have equal right, there's respect and all those things. Sure, you remember all those points?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you use the term who assigns, it won't be technically wrong and it won't be technically right, because everyone during the sprint planning meeting agreed that these are the 10 stories that we can do. But really,
theoretically, sir, theoretically, what do you think theoretically? Because I'm trying to see what this question seems to delve deeper into the technical, the answers seem to delve deeper into the technical aspects, while the question, on the other hand, seems to deal only with the theoretical aspects. what is the key responsibility of a product owner? Assign tasks to developers. By just a whim, just by thinking, we think, well, is a product owner. A Scrum Master. Okay, I think I'm the one. It's all right. I think I've gotten it.
Okay, thank you. All right. So number 3, the option D, who organizes the sprint?
Sprint reviews. That's still the Scrum Master.
Correct, because it's the one in charge of the ceremonies.
Yes, ceremonies.
Oh, okay, the word ceremony. But those are terms that when you use in interviews or in interaction, they know that you understand. Instead of just listing sprint review, retrospective, you just say managing the ceremonies or facilitating the ceremonies. You understand?
So now, what's the key role of the product owner?
You have answered it. It's only
to write user stories and prioritize. The product owner is the one that takes the idea, from what do you call them now? Maybe the business analyst and all of that, and then breaks it down into stories. And then, I think that's his role. We've said it, that write out user stories and all of that. It's the one that takes the product from the idea of the product from maybe the business analyst or the business owner, and then breaks it down into stories, creating what is called how the whole flow will be and all of that, what the person is trying to have at the back of his mind, and creating like a mapping for such product. And then pass it on to, like I've said, now it's a teamwork anyway. I think that's what the product owner does. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir, Dr. Josh.
Refine the statement. You're right. I'll just maybe make it cleaner. So let's take the picture like this. Dr. Shola, you want to develop a platform, right? So you are business. So you now approach Mr. Charles as who is the product owner. Mr. Charles, I have this platform. I want to develop it. I need my student to be able to, I want to calculate their score and do this and do that. So you agree on all those. So he, as the product owner, will now talk to the team. They will come up with a breakdown of how the thing will be done and everything. He will now break down that requirement that you are talking as a business. He will look at the technical feasibility of it and break it down into user stories. Now, in more bigger organization, a product owner is usually supported by a business analyst to break down these technical requirements into stories. Or in not so big organization, it will be your role as the product owner 100% to break that technical requirement. Now, mark my word, you brought a business requirement. The role of the product owner is to convert it to a what? Technical requirement that is by the development team. That is why one of the meetings we always have in the early phase of every project is we first have what we call a BRD meeting. BRD meeting is where we write the business requirement document. We want to gather everything the business wants. Once we have that BRD approved, that's business requirement document approved, a BA and a PO will now work together to ensure that that BRD is converted to technical requirement. When we now gather all the technical requirement, it helps us to now break it down into user stories. It is at the user story level that the development team is able to use it for development. Is that simple enough? But now, by the time we break down the requirements, we can break them down into 100 user story. Prioritization now means we break all the 100 into what we call a backlog. It's just a list. That backlog is just a list. But we now need to, which one are we taking first? Which one are we taking second? That's where prioritization comes. And that's also the role of the product owner to tell us that okay, development team, according to what Mr. Charles said, the first priority they want from this feature is that people must be able to sign in. And if they are signing in, they want them to have two-factor authentication. That is very important to business. So if I'm going to prioritize now, what are we going to do? I will prioritize the landing page, that's the front end, first, and the sign-on page with a two-factor authentication capability. So that will be my priority story that will come on top in my backlog. So that's the difference. Is that clear enough?
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. I hope I'm able to simplify it. Okay, number 4. Which agile ceremony focuses on reflecting on the team's performance after a sprint? Good question.
That's
good.
After first, it's not a sprint review.
Why sprint review?
Because sprint review is to me it seems like that's when we are reviewing what's in the sprints and assigning it to assigning key responsibilities to them, at that level. It means the job has not been done at that point. So, but sprint retrospective now is talking about now reflecting on the team's performance after the sprint. So that's when we've done the work. We're now learning from the process. That's why I think sprint retrospective is the answer.
The description of sprint review isn't correct, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, you said sprint review is when we look at the work and assign the role to people, right? That is sprint planning.
Yeah. Sprint planning. Okay. Okay.
Before the sprint starts, sprint planning. That is when we assign the work. Now, sprint review is when we work that was done, the deliverables that was done. Remember, that's when I told you the product owner will invite product owner, business, stakeholder, customer, everybody will, then we will now test what we have developed to see if it's based on what the customer wants. And if the customer is satisfied, we're good. If they are not, then they tell us the things are outstanding. And then we go work on it again and call them for another sprint review meeting. You understand?
You're correct, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
So sprint retrospective is the answer to this question, actually. So while review is reviewing the solution that was deployed, sprint retrospective is reviewing the team work, the team's performance.
Okay. 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 So reviewing the product or the outcome of the sprint, reviewing the team performance, in that process.
We review the team's performance. Retrospective is where we review the team's performance. Sprint review is when we review the product that was delivered.
Yes.
Okay.
That's clear.
Okay. Now, just to explain, daily scrum is the 15-minute meeting we have every day to check on what is currently being developed. So that's daily scrum. Then what is grooming?
Grooming.
So sometimes because you're already removing so many stories from your backlog, so you need to come back and rearrange everything and make it in an orderly way again, like reprioritization, like refining.
Okay.
So because you've been removing, by the time you're saying this one is priority, you went to remove number 76 is a priority.
Oh my God.
Priority. Number 12.
Oh God.
Oh God. Okay.
Oh my God.
Can you hear me now? Oh, it's on. Okay. Looks like it's back. Just give me a couple of seconds. Well, while he's coming, can we go to question 5? What's the answer to question 5?
Two to 4 weeks.
Excellent. 2 to 4 weeks. That's a direct distance. But we know that usually the whole length of sprint can be between 1 to 1 month, 1 week to 1 month. That's 1 week.
Yes.
But typically, it's usually
Mhm.
4 weeks. I currently joined a new project now, and we're running on a 3-week sprint. Once you see a project running on 3 and 4 week sprints, well, it's not. 2 things would happen. Is it that those deployments are huge development work, or Scrum Master or the program manager wants to have some breathing time. That's why it's making it 3 or 4 weeks. But usually 2 weeks and 1 week sprint, it will keep you on your toes. It will keep everybody on their toes, seriously. All right. While we're still waiting for
we have answered number 6 before too.
correct. While I was explaining number 1, right? So which one is the answer?
A, to do in progress and done.
Excellent. Yeah, looks like we just answered the why we didn't know. Okay, let's keep advancing, right? Number 7, who is responsible for ensuring that development team adheres to Agile principles and Scrum practices?
We have answered that to Scrum Master.
Correct. Number 8,
What is the purpose of daily stand-up meeting, daily Scrum?
is FK there?
See, sir.
Correct. Okay, great. Yeah. So update team members on progress. You know, we said there are 3 questions. What did you plan to do? What did you achieve? And what are the blockers? What were your impediments? So that's updating us on your progress, and then you will identify all your blockers, basically. Okay, number 9. Which of the following best describes the role of a development team in Scrum? I'm sure that should be easy peasy lemon squeeze. Okay, A, we already said to prioritize product backlog is the role of who? I think that will help us to pick the answer.
Product owner.
Excellent. Product owner. B, to define the product roadmap is also the work of who?
Product owner.
Excellent. Yeah, because it's the roadmap that helps him with the backlog creation, or vice versa. Then D, to schedule project milestone. Who schedules project milestones?
Scrum Master.
Excellent. Yeah. So that's more of anything that looks more of a project management rule, but in an advanced form, that's automatically Scrum Master. So to build the product increment, you know, that increment, that advancement in the product feature during a sprint is the work of the development team. So anyway, it's a product increment. And that's why when we're doing sprint review, we say we're reviewing the increments. So we're reviewing that extra feature that was added to the product. Okay, number 10. I'm not sure if Mr. Charles is able to join again, right? In Agile, what does the term velocity refer to?
B, the rate at which Scrum Master resolve issues.
Okay, that's one option. FK.
It's like C2, the amount of work a team can complete is.
Okay.
Actually, it's like C2.
Thank you. Okay, so C is actually the answer, right? Yeah. So when we have 10 user stories, what we do with the team is that we all estimate the points. When we estimate the points, there's something called Fibonacci sequence that we use in estimating the points. You can just go online and just type Fibonacci sequence. You just see it 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, where the next number is the sum of the last two numbers. So 1, 2 will give you 3. 3 plus 2 will give you 5. 5 plus 3 will give you 8. 8 plus 5 will give you 13. 13 plus 8 will give you 21. 21 plus 13 will give you 34, right? 34 plus
34.
Yeah, 34, 21 will give you the next one. So that's Fibonacci sequence. So we just use that sequence. So it's just an arbitrary estimation of the amount of effort that will be required to build that story. So if it's just a simple story like regression testing of the story, it might just be 1 point. But by the time it's becoming that you would have to do configuration change before you do regression testing, that means there will be code changes. Then that might be like 3 point or 5 point, depending on the amount of code change. But if it's that they want to even go and get the platform afresh, like you need to go and register on AWS, that's Amazon Web Services afresh, and you will need to now get access to the platform, integrate the platform with your own development platform. 34 points, because that will require a lot. Do you understand? So let's now say we picked 4 for this sprint, and at the end of the day, each story we gave them 8 points. If we're able to complete 3 of those stories, and the 4th story we did half of it, what will be our velocity? We have 4 stories.
The question again.
Yeah, we have 4 stories that we pick for this sprint. Out each story is 8 points. We're able to complete 3, but we did number 4 to halfway before the sprint ended.
And each one is 8 points.
Each one is 8 points. So what
would be 28?
What would be our velocity?
28 points per sprint.
Okay, you said 28. FK, what would be our velocity? So the question again, 8 points per 4 story. We completed 3 stories. The 4th one, we did it halfway until the sprint time was over. What would be our velocity for that sprint?
$28.
It will be 24.
Can you explain this Fibonacci sequence once again, sir?
Yeah, nobody can explain it. It's a sequence. But the idea is just that 1 plus 2 will equal to 3. 3 plus 2 will be equal to 5. 5 plus 3 will be equal to 8. 8 plus 5 will be equal to 13 plus 8 will be 21.
Will be 21.
So this
21 plus 13 will be 34. 34 plus 21 will be 65.
No, 55, right?
55 rather, yes.
5 then. So that's how it will continue. So we just use that estimation to just say the amount of work. In some company, they don't use Fibonacci. They use t-shirt size. So some will say small, medium, large, extra large, extra large.
So how does that apply to the velocity, sir?
Yeah, so this that was now what brought the next question I was asking. So I said, let's say we now have 4 stories that we have worked, everyone in the team has agreed that we should bring to this sprint. And each of the stories is 8 points. You know, that Fibonacci number is what we use to put an estimate on the story, or the effort that will be required to produce the story. Is an arbitrary estimation. It's not like a mathematical logic. But the development team will just look at the story and say, okay, if it's just a simple regression testing, that means it's just 1 point. They don't need to do so much. They just go on their platform and then click regression testing of the code. It's just to test that everything is still aligned and the code can still run. That's regression testing. But if there will be a configuration change, like they will have to change some lines of the code because they need to rewrite an algorithm. Maybe government rule has changed the tax from 7.8% to 9.2%. Or maybe the calculation of something has changed. You know, that algorithm, they will have to alter the code, right? And anytime you alter the code, you have to rerun it. So because of that configuration change, definitely that can be 1 point. That has to be like 2 or 3 points, depending on the number of lines of the code that you are going to edit. But let's say I just got a fresh project. I will go and just buy access to, like FK, like Muiwa's project now. He just got to go and buy access afresh to Superbase. He will need to get database function. He will need to get front end, back end, everything. In that kind of thing, you don't expect him to say 8 point or 21 point. He might be talking about 34 points or 55. And in such, we will have to, sometimes we may even have to break down that 55 for him and say, okay, we know. Instead of getting this single story into the sprint, why not let's break it down into further stories? That means that's not a user story already. That's already becoming a feature. Let's break it down further into stories. So let's now say, and I'm not giving an example now, that let's now say we now go into a sprint with 4 stories. Each of the story is 8 points. But at the end of the sprint, we're able to complete 3 stories completely. But the 4th story, we're only able to do it halfway. I now say, what will be my velocity?
So your velocity is supposed to be 28 because each story is 8.
Correct.
8 points.
But the velocity is only the amount of work completed that you must total. Don't total anything that was done halfway.
Okay.
Anything, either they've started or once it's not completed, you cannot. Okay, so that's why, and the advantage of knowing the velocity of a team now is that I used to have a team, our average velocity is 55. We're and Shanda gone like, but somehow we dropped to 47. So what do you think happened to us?
I was about to ask that what happened.
No. And that's why I'm asking you to. What do you think happened? Maybe we lost motivation or morale. Yeah, you're right. Those are the points. The morale of the team went down. But the question will now be, can you do a root cause analysis as a Scrum Master on what must have dropped our morale? So because I did that, and that's the essence of your retrospective. In retrospective, you're supposed to do that RCA to know why your morale dropped. What dropped the morale of the team is that management removed 2 members of our team.
Okay.
Removed 2 members of our team. He came in abruptly for us. We didn't well plan for it. They moved them to another team. I think one was relieved of work and one was moved completely. Company was going lean. So they removed 1 person, they moved another person to another team. So that dropped our velocity. And the 2 of them they removed, I think they were in QA. So that first reduced the rate that we were able to do QA. And our QA used to be like 2 days. But now because there's only 1 or 2 more person doing QA for us, they have to take longer days. And as long as you don't get a QA sign off, you can't say you have completed the development. So that's one. You now got the reason why morale is low. Okay, what other factor can cause the morale of the team to be low? When we have poor prioritization of stories. When you don't allow dev team to be involved in the prioritization and selection of story that comes to a sprint, and the product owner is just using Banco, that is forcing it down their throat that they have to do.
Okay.
Remember that the idea is that all of us must come together and discuss this thing. So one of the quality of a product owner is they must be an excellent negotiator. The reason you must be an excellent negotiator is that sometimes the dev team too don't want to bite too much. They will just want to bite at a minimal. But remember, you as the product owner, you may be having pressure from your management. And maybe the challenge you're facing is that this thing has to be delivered before October 1, which is the Independence Day for Nigeria, because that's the day you want to launch the product. If you have that kind of pressure, you must be able to negotiate with your development that, please, we have a go live date for October 1. So even if they want to take a velocity, a total story point of maybe 30, you can beg them that you need to take 40 because the go live date is coming. Okay, I have another example on one of my projects now. There's a state readiness review that has to happen by end of October. And we have about 30 flagged stories that has to meet up that day. So I've been begging my dev team lead to please quickly prioritize all those early stories into the first sprint. And we have a 3-week sprint that will last until October 29. So that means I must pack all those 30 stories into the first sprint, which is risky because the chances of us completing it is slim. But out of that 30, you now have to reprioritize the things that are far more important. Those are the ones you ensure you're tracking every day up until that day. So by the time we're done with the sprint, if you want to check our velocity, so let's say they gave us 2 points per story and we packed 30 stories. That's 60 points, right? But let's say at the end of the day, we're only able to finish 20 completely. So our velocity will be 40. We may have done part of the remaining 10, but as long as they are not completed. Do you know it's as painful as sometimes some stories, you have actually completed development, you have completed quality assurance, which is QA. You have even completed what we call user acceptance testing. You have completed PO. The only thing remaining is the PO to give your final approval so that you can move it to done. But because you are not able to get the PO, maybe the PO just goes on leave, emergency leave. She didn't show up that day. And you have to close the sprint and move to the next sprint. That will affect your velocity. Because even though you've done all the work, because the PO did not click that done, then you cannot count it as your velocity. Is that painful? So you will see us when the sprint is remaining 2 to 3 days to the end, you will start begging the PO to quickly do PO review and move the story to done. You will see me chatting them or pursuing them to please move all the stories to done. And on that last day of the sprint, every story that already has a QA approval, you can work with the business team together, UAT and PO approval that same day and get it to move to done. Do you get my point?
All right.
Yes.
Let me clarify something.
Please go ahead.
A story refers to a feature that the programmer or the development is writing code for, right?
Correct. But it doesn't have to be code every time. It can be a test. It can be a story for testing the code.
Okay. All right.
Be a story for getting access to the platform that would even give you the point to write the code.
Okay, so more or less, a story is like a task.
Is the work that has to
be carried out.
Exactly.
A work to be done by the development team.
Excellent. The reason why I want you to be careful about task is that you can break a story down into task and subtask.
Okay.
Sometimes you have a story and you have to break it down into task and subtask.
Okay.
Sometimes too, when you become professional, if you don't want management to be able to, management tracks the Jira board at the story level. So because of that, some of us that are Scrum Masters, we change some stories to task. When you okay, it's being recorded, Abby. Okay, yeah, but it's just a learning curve for everybody, right? Sometimes when you see that your management is too hard on the team, and you know the team is doing their best and everything, and they only judge their performance based on the story completed. And so sometimes when you see some stories that they are small stories that can be completed later, what you do is you convert those stories to tasks so that the dashboard does not pick it again as a story. And what that would do is remember that if I have 90 stories and I've completed 50 over, okay, let me say I have 100 stories. 50 over 100 will be 50% completion, right? But if I
Yes.
like 20 of those stories to task, it will become 50 over 80. 50 over 80 will move us up to like 60-70%, right?
Yes.
So even if management is tracking, what management will be saying is 70% completion instead of 50% completion. Do you understand? So all those are just ways that as a Scrum Master you grow into to help your team. Because sometimes the management can be very, very harsh and unrealistic too. But
So one needs to be able to differentiate what stories can be broken into tasks and subtasks and all of that, so that
just even convert the same story to task itself, as in just turn it to task first, so that once the team is good with the management pressure, then you can quickly mop up those small tasks and clear them away.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, question 11. What is the key benefit of using Kanban in Agile project management?
B. Internal work in progress.
Okay, why did you choose B?
Yes, because it's showing the workflow. Yes, the like, it's a board. You said it's a visual board that displayed the tasks for the way things are going for
Correct.
the project.
Correct. Yeah, you're right, but I just want to be sure that the thinking that backs the answer to is. So, number one,
Right.
the fixed length sprint is done in Scrum. But in Kanban, the idea is that until you finish the 3 story, even if you spend more than one sprint, you will continue new. So it's not like we have a fixed length sprint. Sure, you remember. If you pick 3 story, if you finish it in 2 days, you go back and pick another 3. Abby, that was what we said. And that work in progress is the 3 story. So you agree before you start that maybe the maximum story point will be taken will be 30. So once you pick 3 stories or 4 stories that equals to 30, then you have to go and complete that in progress. And once you're done with that 4, so the meaning is that even if we pick 4 story and the person who picked 2 story, okay, maybe someone picked 3 stories, someone picked 1 story. If the people who picked 3 story, they are done, but the guy who picked the 4th story is not done yet, we will go and join hand with him and complete his own story before we go to go and pick another story, another set of 4 story. Do you understand?
Yes, it's clear.
Work together to ensure that I will know that even if I finish my own fast enough, I will still go and join you guys to finish your own. Before I won't go back to the backlog to go and pick until we finish those 4 story that we pick, then we go back. So limiting work in progress is a major advantage in Kanban because it enhances focus for the team. And the team, it helps the team to work collaboratively to ensure everything is done well.
I didn't know. So if I may ask, I didn't know that Scrum and Kanban can be combined.
Yeah,
I thought.
Yeah, you can combine the methodology. It's called Scrumban.
Okay, Scrumban. Okay.
You're combining the benefits of the two methodology. So you'll be running on a fixed length sprint. You'll be using a work in progress limit. The WIP limit will be that we are taking this 5 story every sprint. Maybe you've seen all your number of sprints, you've seen the total, you just divide it that way. But the idea in Scrum is that even if we finish the 5-story in day 3 of a 10-day sprint, you go back and add more stories to it. That's Scrum. Okay, number 12. I think we'll wrap up on this. Which of the following is not a responsibility of the Scrum Master? I think that one is a very...
I think it's C.
Writing user stories.
Writing user stories.
But let me tell you the truth. As an agile person, you must learn how to write user story. So it's irrespective of, I've been on project before. In fact, as of yesterday, I still created like 3 or 4 user stories. Because let me give you a typical example. My BA has been taken to another project. So even if I chat her up to come and write story for me, it might take her a day before she has my time. I can't wait. And I was in a meeting with the business.
What can you give an example of user story since you wrote some yesterday?
Exactly.
Oh,
that's what I wanted to ask, really.
Okay, so yesterday I had this business was requesting that some of their the data they collected, they want to change the date of that data. That's one. For you to be able to change the date of a data in the application we're using, number one is that you have to first ensure that the data you are receiving, there's something called data cleanup. So my first user story is that okay, as a manager, I need data cleanup to ensure that the ingested data is accurate and has all the data elements for my code to be able to, for my program to be able to run the code. So that's one. Every user story must tell you who is involved, what you want to do, and why you want to do it. So listen to my statement again. As a manager, I want to do data cleanup so that you heard it, so that that's the benefit now. Who is the person as a manager, comma? I want to do data cleanup. That's what you want to achieve, right? And then so that my program will be able to ingest the data fields appropriately. So I've given you the who, I've given you the what, and I've given you the why.
Okay.
Do you understand? The second part, that after doing data cleanup, the developer guy has to write a data fix code so that it will be ingested, right? So I will now say, as a developer, comma, I want to write a new data fix code so that my program will be able to ingest the new file. Have you gotten, is that clear?
Yes. So there are specific technicalities for writing a user story.
Yeah, one of the sessions on this training, I'll make sure we dedicate it to just writing user story.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get an Excel document and all of us will open and we'll get a Google spreadsheet, right? So that all of us can collaborate and create stories.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would help everyone. Okay, so another example now is, after the guy writes the code, he would have to get the QA guy to also test the code, right? So as a QA person or as a QA person, comma, I want to test the data fix code so as to ensure that it delivers according to function, full stop. So all those are just the way you write. So that's a user story. So as a user, what has to be done and why do you want to do it? But don't worry, in practice, a lot of modification has happened to it, but that's the standard.
Okay. The who, what, and the why.
Why, exactly. Always been a user story. Now, after you now write that, you must create a full description. The full description always comes with the business, what the business sends to you, and what the IT guy needs. That's the description. Then after description, you now write acceptance criteria. What are the things that would certify that something is done, like a definition of done. That's the final. Those are the three key things that comes in the creation of the user story. On that day, we'll do everything so that it will be clear. I think we can schedule next weekend to do it.
No problem.
Now let's plan it for next. At least everybody is clear on that.
So it's not that there are specific softwares that one uses for this. It's just an Excel sheet or something that we use this for.
What I will do against next week is I'll register with one new email into Jira so that we can see the background and everything. So
all of these feeds into Jira, right?
Yeah, there are other platforms, but the most popular guy is Jira.
Okay. Jira.
Okay, so I think we're good, right? Thank you so much for joining today. I think we enjoyed this refresher.
So there is a question on the number of the length of a sprint.
That's
okay.
Yes.
I wanted to be sure. So I was thinking it's 2 to 4 weeks, really, in my mind.
Correct. How long is a typical sprint? But that's where the word typical becomes.
Yes.
Because generally, sprints are between 1 week to 1 month.
Okay.
Yeah, but typically in practice, it's usually 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay. I wanted to be sure I got it.
Question, please. Every word has a meaning. Or has a reason why it's there. Then number 6, what's your answer? I knew you were out when we're doing this.
Yes, the Kanban board is divided into which of the following columns? To do, in progress, done, backlog, plan, build, test, not started, development. To do, I don't know.
Okay,
but
we spoke about it when we're talking about Kanban here. It's
yes.
To do, in progress, done.
Yes. Okay.
3 stories, you move it to from to do, you move it to in progress until you
finish. Yes. Okay.
Come done. You don't go back to do.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I got that.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the privilege.
Thank
you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.